Oh man. Let me put it to you this way here. Days like this were built for big sales. How you doing? Whoa. Hey, I can always count on Fredo. Man. And then I can always count on the players to vindicate. Big Sills. Holy cow. Big Sills. Oh my God. Vindication and validation. Big Sills validation. Big Sills vindication. Holy cow. I love it. So, Kenny Gainwell, you know what's funny? Kenny Gainwell has no status in the locker room. Funny, every game I watched the Eagles prepare for, they were trying to establish him in almost every fucking game he played in. The Eagles must like him. How many times do we go on this program each and every single Monday? What are you doing with Kenny Gainwell? He was part of the offense. He was part of the offensive game plan. Now, because he voices his opinion, he sucks. I told you from day one of me covering this football team that front office gets in the way and that front office meddles. I listened to Howie Roseman when he was on that thing called a sports talk station, WIP. Again, bunch of ass kissers, like Angelo says. And every time they tried to have a conversation about, get this, how about this? Those guys, when they had Howie Roseman on, did they bring up Kenny Gainwell? Talking about culture and front office disconnect? And how the front office wasn't connected? Did they bring that shit up at all? Get this, Gainwell's a guy. So that's funny you should say that. After a football game, I remember Jalen Hurts coming out and publicly saying, we're just not connected as a team. Guys aren't on the same page. People in our room aren't on the same page. Then he had to walk them comments back on Wednesday because Bob Lang got in his ass, because the front office got in his ass the same way they call my bosses when they want to get into my ass too, because they don't want a narrative out there that would make you think that there's a disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff. I've been saying this shit for 3 years. You've been fighting me on that shit. Facts. I can name you 5 players that give you a reference point to it. So this isn't just Big Sills. This is your own fucking players saying it about your general manager. He runs the show. It's his shop. Plain and simple. No one else. No one else. It's over with. It's over with. There's a disconnect between the coaches, people in the locker room, and the front office. By the way, please hit the like button. We're going to try to get to 250 today. We will have the Battle Royale, as always, 3:30. Mark Holmes Cowboys, Philly 500 will also be in the building at 3:30. That's there for you as well. Get this. You know what? Hassan Reddick, I do what upstairs tells me. Jalen Hurts, we're not on the same page. Kenny Gainwell, we're not on the same page. Darius Slay, I don't want to practice this week. I just put 4 players out there. It ain't Kenny Gainwell, folks. It's all of them. Fletcher Cox talking about leadership. And then you start talking to me about some bullshit culture you don't have. I have a culture. You know what a culture is? Winning. Nothing else. Eagles don't have a culture. Culture's winning. And someone would go like this. Well, wasn't that a culture last year too? What happened to the culture? The head coach got exposed. The players exposed. Get this. You got a player sitting up. Hey, Britton Covey talked to. So you got Britton Covey. You've got Kenny Gainwell. You've got Jalen Hurts. You have Hassan Reddick, Kevin Byard, Fletcher Cox. I just named you 6 dudes that talked about a disconnect last year. It's not one dude. They're all saying the same shit. All saying, hey, and by the way, your lying general manager trying to validate Nakobe Dean is absolutely the most pathetic thing and the most insulting thing that a player has to deal with from a know-nothing talent evaluator and Howie Roseman and Associates is to listen to a front office guy say this. Hey, our new draft choice reminds me of Nakobe Dean. In what way? What possible way could Trotter Jr. remind you of Nakobe or TJ Edwards? He tried to talk about, Trotter could be like this, like him, like Nakobe. And then he said, yeah, Trotter also reminds me of TJ Edwards. No, he doesn't. He's slow. He has never played an NFL down yet. How do you know this? He hasn't had one practice yet. And you think he plays like TJ Edwards? Dude, that guy is a liar. And I agree with Angelo. That dude gets so much ass kissing from the Philadelphia media. It is mind-numbing. He's great at 2 things. He is an overblown CPA GM. There, I said it. And I'll continue to say it because that's all he's good at, is constructing deals and cap management. This guy belongs in the accounting firm of Roseman and Associates. That's it. You're trying to vindicate and validate a 5th-round pick and telling us and blowing it up that he's some sort of frontline first-rounder. He's not that good. He's a special teams contributor. Okay? That's it. Roseman, the reason you're not 3-1 in Super Bowls, it's him. It's completely him. The head coach is a liar. The general manager is a liar. He's a liar. Was all front and center yesterday. Yeah, Nick made that decision. How about Nick coming out in the press conferences saying it was his call to fire Sean Desai? When you heard Gainwell go, there was just a disconnect between the players, coaches, and front office. Not my words. Somebody was actually in the building. Whether you think he's a frontline star player or not, at least he was in the meetings. You weren't. He was. And actually a player the Eagles like. Let me verbatim say exactly what Kenny Gainwell said. When asked the question, what happened last year? Was a disconnect between the people in the building, upstairs, and with us. Adam Silver sucks, dude. Thanks, 304. His words. His words. His words. 2017 and 2023 are flukes. You know why? You're not consistent. If you were on a Six Flags ride, you'd be throwing up by the third turn. Up and down. Up and down. That's why you don't have a postseason record that's worth the shit. You know what? We won 17. You're 17 and 17. You're 500. Congratulations. Seals, Eagles do have a culture. They are constantly inconsistent. That's why we have only one Super Bowl win in the Super Bowl era. Q. Correct. Totally. Xander made a great point with John McMullen. Hey, John McMullen, I say this to him. He is a fine reporter. And during our draft coverage, he was sensational. And I will say this to you. I have nothing in common with John in the way he sees the Eagles or how I look at the Eagles. John does a fabulous job. He really does. And I have a lot of respect for him and his work. And I would never say anything disparaging except for this. I don't subscribe to anything he says about that team and how that team is run and how that culture went apart, because Xander Kraus said it perfectly. You're 10-1. Your quarterback is an MVP. He's in the running. He was leader at one time, according to Vegas. What happened? What happened was the players lost faith in the coaches in the front office. That's not a culture thing. That's a trust thing. And it fractured your culture. And what have you done to rectify that? You got bullshit artist Howie Roseman coming out doing this. Hey, man, Kobe Dean. Trotter Jr. I mean, these guys remind me of, of course, you go to the most successful linebacker you had nothing to do with except you found him on UDFA. Nothing. Okay? A guy goes like this. You take the Bills past 10 seasons or the Eagles past 10 seasons. I would take this. What's the difference? You went 1 week further, or in some cases 2. You got one Super Bowl win. Read a book, guy. I'm not about that kind of shit. The Rams have been the best organization in the NFC. Yeah, 2 Super Bowl appearances, a win. You got a coach with a culture. That's a culture. Doesn't matter what quarterback it is. The Rams are great in what they do. You know why? They got a head coach and a quarterback. That's why the Rams are regarded more as a better offense than the Eagles. You don't have a quarterback and a head coach. They got Stafford and McVay. Who would you take? If you had to win a ball game and everything was equal, you would take Hurts and Sirianni over McVay and Stafford? Xander was asking a question this morning. Hey, man, why would the Rams be in a conversation better than the Eagles? Well, when crunch time comes to a situation, do you want to go with a Super Bowl winning coach and quarterback, or do you want to go with a guy who melted down and looked like a turtle cowering up into his shell and a coach who's a puppet? Who would you take? Nobody in their right mind would think that Fredo Sirianni is in the same conversation as McVay. McVay is an actual play caller. He actually develops quarterbacks. He actually develops Puka Nacua. He actually can take marginal guys like Mayfield and Wentz and win. That's a coach. That guy, I don't know what he is, actually. I can't call him anything else but a doorman. And you got a general manager who just thinks so highly of himself. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. But these A's and he's the greatest GM is a fucking lie. It's a fucking lie. Totally. McVay developed golf and traded his ass away and got to a Super Bowl too. Yeah, well, he got to a Well, here, just to show you what Senor doesn't know, what did Jeff Fisher do with Jared Goff? Do you know what Jeff Fisher did with him? He benched him, had him holding a clipboard. And then he was the first overall pick. And he was a bust. McVay walks in the room, they go to a Super Bowl and lose 14-3 to the Patriots and Brady. That's what he did with him. And now, because he wanted a better quarterback, no one would ever say that Jared Goff's a better quarterback than Matthew Stafford. He takes a guy and wins a Super Bowl. So, according to Senor, Jared Goff's a better quarterback to Sean McVay, and yet McVay won the Super Bowl with him. How's that possible? McVay got everything he wanted out of both guys. Went to the Super Bowl, developed them. Jared's doing nice now, got to an NFC title game. And Stafford won the Super Bowl and beat Brady in the playoffs. I'm just curious. And gave Cooper Kupp one of the greatest years of all time. Flip-flop? Whatever, guy. Flip-flop what? On what issue am I flip-flopping? What issue what are you talking about? Flip-flop? Who in their right mind ever thought Matthew Stafford would win a Super Bowl in Detroit? He goes to the Rams. He won one playoff game. McVay takes him to the Super Bowl. Whatever, guys. Your organization was called out by its players for the last 6 months. Don't get a pouty face and butthurt over me. How you doing? Look at what happens here. You guys get so sensitive, and your sphincter muscle gets a little bit away. And you know what happens? You come after the messenger. But that's standard. That's what you see in politics today. I don't give a shit what you say. What I heard yesterday, all I needed to hear, because I don't need to hear for some fucked up reporter. I'll listen to the players that were in the locker room, in the meetings, practice every day. Whether you think he is an A player, a B player, he was there. And he was part of the game plan. Okay? Your players are calling your GM out. Your players called out your coach and exposed them. So get this, Senor thinks he got replaced by Shipley, who hasn't played it down yet. Okay. That's another example of Howie meddling Roseman. Salty Sills is back? No. Vindication Sills is back. Validated and vindicated. All the shit I was telling you, it's not one player. It's all of them. It's all of them. Salty Sills. By the way, super chats go to the top. Please, let's try to get to 250. You know what's so messed up about this conversation? I'm not addressing any attacks on me today. So, LJ, you can rest it. I'm addressing the conversation that Howie had and people had yesterday about the Eagles, not me. This got nothing to do with me. This has got everything to do with what now the players are finally saying. So you should try to stay focused. This is not a show that gives you an opportunity to contradict what the players are saying through me. I'm talking about Kenny Gainwell, Jalen Hurts, Hassan Reddick, Kevin Byard, Darius Slay, Fletcher Cox, all said over the last 6 months. Those guys said it. Those guys said it. I didn't. Why are you mad at me? Why? Because I'm the only guy in Philadelphia that will say it? Is that right? I'm the only guy that has been saying it. Philly Godfather, too. I'm the only guy? That's why. See, when you stand on an island like that, I don't care about taking the slings and arrows, but I will take a victory lap when players start exposing coaching and GMs. You don't think Bob Lang is up Kenny Gainwell's ass? And by the way, can I tell you why Kenny Gainwell is talking? Because Kenny Gainwell knows the writing on the wall. You know what that is? What is it? Why do you think Kenny Gainwell started barking? Why do you think Kenny Gainwell came out publicly and started saying that? Somebody kind of said something a little bit. You know what they said? You know, what would they say? Because he's being replaced? He's gone soon anyway. Oh, there's not a chance in hell he's on the Hassan Reddick bus on the way out of town because he stood up. Do you know why? Can I tell you why? Because he knows that anybody who's drafted will play over him. Not about being good. It's about being drafted in Philly. That's why your defense blows. You get handed out assignments. You don't earn them. It's Howie's team. This is Howie's team. I had people all day long yesterday. No, get this. Look at this. Sills thinks Kenny Gainwell's good. No, I don't. I hated the guy on the fucking team. Couldn't stand him. Is this about anything to do with Kenny? Get this. Look at what Flex and LJ and some of these other assholes are trying to do in here today. They're trying to make it about him being a good player or not, instead of one of the 53 men that were on the roster the last 3 years. See what they're trying to do? It's deflect. There's 53 men that are on a roster. All have different importance. True. But all are in the same meetings. All go through the same position meetings. There's not special meetings for special players. You're all in it together. You go to special teams meetings together. You go to team meetings together. You go to running back meetings together. You go to offensive game plan meetings together. You go to defensive game plan together. So this ain't about him being good. It's got nothing to do with it, actually. So Senor has no idea what he's talking about. He's trying to weigh in. Well, he's not that good a player. That's got nothing to do with it. My God. There's 53 men on a roster every Sunday. That's what this is about. If our and JL checked their egos, we'd win more. Absolutely. 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 You'd win the critical ones. Nobody here is defending Gainwell's ability. This got nothing to do with it. Why do I think Kenny Gainwell opened his mouth? Because Howie Roseman drafted Shipley, and he's going to play. And he signed Barkley. Those are your first two guys who are going to play. Gainwell salty because he's gone with the team. Okay. And what's the point? That's got nothing to do with what he said. He's talking about the 3 previous years, and most notably the last year in 23. What's that got to do with him being on the team in 24? Nothing. Once again, LJ deflecting onto something that has no conversation in what I'm talking about. Nothing. Zero. Get this. Who is Kenny Gainwell? One of the 53 men that have been on your football team the last 3 years. Active. That's who he's been. That you can't take away from him. Actually, he's played more downs than Barkley has for Philly. He's played more downs than DeAndre Swift ever did. He's played more games than pretty much anybody but Hurts and maybe Kelsey the last 3 years. He's been active for every ball game. He's played a ton of games. Yeah, but he's not good. It's not the point. He was there. So who are you going to believe? Jeff, what's his name, McCall? Who sits on the outside with a pad and piece of paper and sits in the stands, or a guy who was in the fire and in the arena? How dopey can you be? People write with an opinion. They don't write on facts anymore. You get this guy yapping for views? No, I'm just repeating what your players are saying. I'm not saying anything. Look at LJ, third string running back. Okay, so your first team quarterback said it too. Do you understand when one guy says something, hey, you blow it off. When another guy says something, you blow it off. When 6 guys say it, don't you think there's something to that? No? By the way, once again, this has nothing to do with me. And if you don't like my delivery, I don't fucking care. I really don't. I don't care. Sills, why did the coaches all try to incorporate Kenny in the game plan every week? I wasn't a fan of him, nor was I. I hated it. It's almost like he was kissing ass. I don't think he was kissing ass. I think they liked his skill set. I really do. I think they liked his skill set. But I was never a fan of it. How many times would I come on a Monday and go like this? What does that guy do? Why are you trying to establish that guy? Once again, we're off in the weeds here. That's got nothing to do with what he said. Get this. 2 dudes with more to lose than anybody on the planet, which is called roster spots. Britton Covey and Kenny Gainwell are all talking about the shitty culture in the building. But John McMullen's trying to tell you that they have a great culture. Who do you believe? I mean, who would you believe? It blows my mind. And by the way, anybody that has to start arguments and conversations with, well, I covered the team. Well, that's not what the players were saying all year. Players are contradicting everything you said every week. Wait, can we be done with going forward? I hope Howie hears this too. Steve-O, thank you. Thank you very much, Steve-O. I appreciate that. It means a lot. I believe my eyes, it was definitely a problem. What the problem is that they bold-faced lied to the media in Philly and to you, the fans. That's my problem. They don't tell you the truth. You know the head coach doesn't run the team. It doesn't matter if he's Nick Sirianni or Doug Peterson. That organization gets in the way, and they love control, and they love control more than championships. And it's plain and simple. It was on massive display in 23. How can you're right. Some of you that are in here, how can you have great decision making in 22 and awful decision making in 23? You know why? You think you're smarter than you are. Instead of stick to what's working, like coaching Jalen Hurts to 22, you try to come up with this fangled way of thinking he's the next Patrick Mahomes, and he's not. This whole thing validates the inconsistencies that they have in their approach. You know, Howie Roseman really believes that his linebacking room is one of the best linebacking rooms in the NFL. Just listen to him. Listen to him. Trying to pump up Trotter Jr. when he went in the 5th round. Like he's a first rounder. trying to pump up. And I heard the interview. I don't give a shit about anybody talking about me and my accolades about getting. I've never seen a guy win more off-season awards than him. He wins more off-season awards than any guy I've ever seen. Never seen anything like it. I think he's a fraud when it comes to player personnel. I do. Do you know why? What's the name of the guy getting interviewed that John McMullen was talking about in the Patriots? Why do you think that guy's being interviewed? Do you have an idea why that guy would be interviewed? It ain't because they're awesome on personnel on defense when they draft them. What's the guy's name? I mean, I would never hire a personnel guy from the Philadelphia Eagles. In my life, I'd hire a contract guy. Okay. Brandon Hunt. Brandon Hunt. Why do you think that analytical dude is being pursued by the Patriots? Alonzo Highsmith's up there. He's my friend, my former teammate. Why do you think, and I did not, wait a minute, I want to make it clear. I want to make it very clear. I did not get this from him. Why do you think Brandon Hunt is being pursued by the Patriots? Why? Hey, you guys can call me all the names you want. It's got nothing to do with me today. It's got everything to do with your players bitching and calling out your coach and your GM and your front office. If you take that out on me, I'll take it. No problem. I don't know why. You should be more pissed off and reverse that. And now you realize why you guys, once again, you aim it at the wrong people. You're defending a guy who sucks. Here's why Brandon Hunt is being pursued by the Patriots. Because Bob Kraft is not going to allow a coach any longer to have complete autonomy over his roster and the spending of money and the building of it ever again. The Kraft family, with the younger Kraft and with the way that they just hired this no-name coach, Jared Mayo, they're going to take control back of the organization. And how do you do that? You hire a guy who works with the front office. Diggs did the same. You called him a cancer. Appreciate the I'm not responding to this. This got nothing to do with me. I don't give a fuck about Diggs. I'm talking about, he is a cancer. He's already starting shit in Houston. LJ, deflecting again. Your players are calling your coach and your front office disconnected. Let's get back on track again. We're not going to be sidebarred with this. We're right. We've always been 99%. How many times did I used to go back and forth with D Gunn about D Gunn telling me that the Nick Sirianni was the guy calling all the shots? I said that's never been the case. How many people were saying that all those guys and the coaches, he picked his coaches, okay? You get this. DC goes, Sills can't handle facts. I'm not going by any facts except the player's mouth and their word, including your quarterback. Don't get mad, man. Watch Trotter's tape. He sucks. Philly got him. 304. I don't think he sucks. I think he's an instinctive player. I do. But do I think he's a bona fide middle linebacker, inside linebacker that's going to start in the NFL? Absolutely not. He'll contribute. It's a fine story. I don't want to piss on that. But don't start talking like this guy's saving grace. Because Howie loves N'Kobe. Okay? Get this. Look at Steve. Dan's out of control today because I'm repeating what Kenny Gainwell and everyone else said. How's that out of control? I'm repeating your guys. This organization gave Gainwell every opportunity to succeed. They did. And he was even asking why they kept playing him. I think Gainwell is mad because Shipley will take his place. Gainwell is happy. Gainwell is a baby that's crying. No one's denying that, Marshall. That's not the point. We're not talking about whether he's good or not. You're missing the point, Marshall. This is not about him being good. LJ and these other guys are trying to make it about that. He is part of a 53-man roster that goes to meetings, the same meetings the star players go to. He's been there 3 years through this. He's seen it all. And you'd rather believe a reporter than a guy who's been in the building. Sills, he's going to lose his job. Yeah, because Howie drafted him. He drafted Will Shipley. Right. That's how it works in Philly. Sills, the biggest mistake Glory made was not restructuring the front office, allowing Joe Douglas to assume the title of GM, but making Howie Poobah, who was over the GM, handling contracts and free agents. I don't mind him handling contracts. As I've told people before, the guy deserves a raise because the contracts and the cap management that he has is over the top. Look at this here. Sills is probably telling Britton Covey and Kenny G to keep talking shit. Great content for the show. What's that got to do with what they said? How come Gainwell never said anything in 21 or 22? Because the culture was winning. And he didn't draft a running back. He didn't draft a running back in 21, 22. Writing's on the wall when a player's drafted in your position, you're out. That's why. There was no running back drafted in 21, 22. There was in 23. Your GM runs this whole thing. This guy really believes his shitty linebacking room. Really believes shitty linebacking room is good. And that guy thinks that bust, Nakobe Dean, is good because he drafted him. He actually believes that. And then he brings up TJ Edwards. TJ Edwards is 2 years ago. He reminds me of, Trotter, of TJ Edwards. What? Hasn't played it down. I'm saying he's being emotional, lashing out. They gave him plenty of chances. He's just not good. No, I don't believe Kenny G. Oh, okay. Do you believe Hurts? Marshall, do you believe Hurts? He said there was a disconnect. Hassan Reddick said, hey, man, I just do what the front office tells me. Do you believe those guys? Or no? So you don't believe any of those guys? Quarterback. Hey, Marshall, you don't believe those guys too, then, right? Because they said the same shit. They said the same stuff. Once again, I want to make it very clear. Kenny Gainwell validated the others' comments. And Bob Lang, who I can't stand, tries to control the players and their messaging to the public. And when he thinks they're not on the same, get this, he tries to put them on the same page more than the coaching staff and front office do on Sundays. Bob actually does a better job. How many times has Bob had them come with those stupid-ass Wednesday, including the head coach, walking back comments that they make? On a Tuesday, we have everything we need in our coaching staff. And on a Friday, they're firing them. I can't tell any longer with Nick Sirianni. I really can't tell any longer. Why do you tolerate this? What happened to Philly? What happened to you? Have you been infected by the LJ virus? What happened to you? Well, you don't hold accountability and you look at someone like me because I'm messaging what everyone now sees. I know you're right. However, I think Kenny G is being spiteful. Yeah. That's what you would do, Marshall. Marshall, I never said he was good. I've never been a Kenny Gainwell fan. I'm not supporting the guy. I think the guy validates the other comments that the players and some of the other people make. And then you look at me and you get mad because guess why? I point out the truth. Man, now I realize every single person in here that has a problem with me saying exactly what these men have been saying for 6 months. That's a you thing. Sills, answer this. Why did Gainwell come out and say this after the draft? Why didn't he say it after the season like everyone else? Because they didn't. You're not listening, Gabe. Because at the time they didn't draft Will Shipley. That's why. Did that not land right? The only reason that Gainwell's talking shit now is because Will Shipley was drafted and that's the replacement for him. They're replacing Kenny Gainwell with Will Shipley. Whether he's good or not has no bearing. You're missing it. Once again, I'm not a Gainwell fan. I think the guy stinks. When you have nothing to lose, you will speak the truth. I believe it. It showed on the field that the team was too good to collapse like that. Prince, right. Prince, get this. They think I'm supporting Kenny Gainwell as a player. I'm not. Well, Sills, why didn't he say it after the season? Because they didn't have another running back on the team other than Barkley. He thought he was going to share time with Barkley like he did last year with DeAndre Swift. Well, that changed. Women talk smack after they get dumped. Moving on. Whatever, guy. I'm not fucking moving on. Oh, no. I'm not moving on at all. No. You're going to eat it today. For all the shit you gave me for 3 years, you're going to eat it. And you're going to like it. Because finally, somebody in your city is telling you what you need to hear. That front office is in the way, and that's why you're 1-3. In the most important game, you fire a Super Bowl coach and you keep a moron as a coach. You kept a moron and fired a Super Bowl coach. Because why? You want control. You were never going to have two things happen. Somebody like Chip Kelly or somebody like Andy Reid. You know the difference between Chip Kelly and Andy Reid? One was a good coach. They had the same power. 1-3. And you know what it also does? The way Howie runs his team keeps him in the spotlight. I've never seen a general manager more. What other general manager do you know takes victory laps? Runs around on a draft stage. Yeah! What other guy? I don't give a shit about the post-draft grades. Sure he does. The guy's a media whore. Loves it. He loves it. So it keeps him relevant. That's okay. It's coming to an end. Hey, what I loved about it was your organization exposed the head coach even more so as being a fraud. All of them did. Jalen Hurts. What was that game when he said that we're not on the same page? And Bob Lang made him walk it back on a Wednesday. What was that game? What game was that? I forget. What was it? The Cowboy game they got killed? He said that? What was the game that happened? Then he had to walk it back. Well, you know what I meant? I meant to do this. And that. Here's another sign that Jalen Hurts is not a leader. Hoss, after a game like that, where you think somebody as a quarterback that are not on the same page, stick to your convictions. Double down on it. Call someone out once in a while. Don't go along. Now I know why you went 1-7. You went right along with the disaster. Instead of trying to fix the sinking boat, you were part of the boat sinking. Jalen Hurts last year told me all I need to know about his character. When Bob Lang made him walk back on Wednesday, comments that he made about the locker room and the team not being together, he was okay with going down with the ship. Tells you all you need to know about him. He was okay with it. And then at the end, when his coach needed his support, where was he? Nowhere to be seen. I'm really, hoping this year is going to be something different for him, where he expands. I heard Xander say maybe he works on his leadership more. Dude, they don't need you when things are going good, Jalen. They need you when shit's going bad and shit hits the fan. That's when they need you the most. They need problem solvers. That's the thing about the NFL, isn't it? The problem solvers are usually the ones that are the great coaches and the great quarterbacks. The ones that just are front runners, those are flashes in the pan, aren't they? That's why Jalen Hurts is a flash in the pan. Until otherwise notified by me. That's how I see him. He was willing to go down with the ship. And he was willing to go along with it. That's what this Gainwell thing has exposed, the inner workings and how they say it to one another. Let's do this. How many people believe that they have fixed the cultural problems? I heard Xander and John talking about culture. Culture? What in the world is that? Every team, every year has a new identity. It's not something that hovers over an organization like it's this motto. The Philadelphia Eagles have turned this Eagle culture thing into a motto. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Eagle culture. You know why? Every year's different. Shit, if your football teams the last 10 years haven't shown that, nothing else will. Every year's different. So how can you have a winning culture? That's called doing your fucking job. You want to be patted on the back for doing your gig. That's the culture they have. Hey, congratulations for not robbing a bank. Hey, we're good. Congratulations. You spent $500 million this offseason. You got players extended for the next 6 years that are billionaires. Congratulations for doing your job. What do you really want? To be patted on the back for a nuclear meltdown? Get this, here's your culture. They rewarded 6 players last year with new contracts and raises for a complete and utter disastrous meltdown. You know why? Because Howie drafted them or Howie traded for him. Let's take a look at that. If anybody that was on the team that Howie didn't have anything to do with. Let's see let's see here. Devontae, that's his guy. He made a trade for AJ. He made a trade for Barkley. He drafted Hurts. Let's see here. Landon Dickerson, did he draft? Yep, he drafted his ass too. Mulata may be the only guy on the offensive side of the football that he didn't have anything to do with. Maybe I might be wrong. On the other side, Bryce Huff gets the only deal, $18 million. Then he brings Gardner Johnson back that he traded with New Orleans, and he brings him back and gives him the money. I don't know. What am I missing? Those are all Howie moves. Let me ask you something about Nick, too, in this process. Who's Nick brought in? Who's Nick brought in? What was that backup wide receiver that he wanted from the Colts 2 years ago? Who's the other guy? What guy did Nick want on the team? What was that guy's name? That was like the 15 wide receiver that played for Nick in Philly. What was that guy's name? I forget. That's the only contribution I could see personnel-wise that Nick Sirianni's brought to the table. Remember what he said? I had to ask. Not Shaq Leonard, the wide receiver. The wide receiver that he coached. Who was that guy? Seals, the hating you on YouTube isn't sending notifications for your show in the algorithms. What do you want me to do? Sit here and cheerlead for you? There's a guy right there once again. I can't win for losing. All Howie moves, that's literally his job on GM. Really? Well, that's literally his job as a GM to do this, to address the offense. I thought Xander and them guys were talking about the offense being in the top 5. Really? That was the problem last year? Or the 27th or 32nd ranked defense? Yeah, that's right. That Zach Pascal guy. There's his contribution. The greatness of Zach Pascal. Zach Pascal. Come on, man. Defense was a problem, but 9 punts in a playoff game is atrocious. Correct. I think Nick is literally the only person not off the hook. He doesn't seem to even attempt to evil the players, just doesn't bring much to the table, but I must admit, Howie seems to do his job. Howie does his job in a way that he wants you to know it. He wants you to know that he completely in control of the roster. Doug Peterson's not your head football coach for one simple reason. He wanted to control Doug. Doug said, no, not happening. And you lost a great coach. Instead, you know what you have? You have a guy that no one respects. They like him. 2 things can be true. You can like somebody and not respect them. I really like that guy. Would you respect him as your coach? Absolutely not. Really a great dude, man. Just a super dude. Seals, you love Frank Reich, right? Yeah, love him. Would you want him as your head coach? I don't know. Probably not. Would you want him as a coordinator? No doubt. Would you want him as a head coach? Not sure. I doubt it. GM runs the roster. Can I have one question for you here? One question. So you guys think that Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore are going to turn this around? You know what? I was listening to Birds 365 this morning. Great show. Xander's brought a lot to it. It's really great. It's younger for sure. He's talking about the offense. So what the Kellen's going to do with... Xander, here's my question. Well, actually, who does Vic and Kellen answer to? Who does he answer to? Who do those 2 men answer to on game day? Or Monday? Who do they answer to? Who do the coordinators answer to? spin. Howie. Here's something you won't answer. All you apologists. Who do they answer to? Who do they answer to? Want to say it? You don't. No, nobody wants to say it. Because you'll be just like Kenny Gainwell. You know what you'll be doing? You'll be calling out the coach if you do this. Bruce, reluctantly, punk-ass Howie. Sills, here is a better question. Will Howie ever have to answer to anyone? 20 years of not being held accountable. Amen. NFL betting. Is there value with home underdogs? Yes. Always take him and give him 3 points. Common sense, Dan. Who owns the team? So you think the owner of the football team is making game day situational moves? That's why he's got Howie. Why do you think Howie Roseman wants to control the roster? Do you guys have an idea why? Hey, thanks for these super chats. We will never win another Super Bowl with this ownership, GM or head coach. Howie keeps addressing offense because of the owner. Literally, crazy world. Got it. Q, you're right. What do you think? Why do you think it's important that Howie has complete autonomy? Nick has no. My God almighty. You know how many times, even Xander and all these guys, when I used to say, coaching staff has no say. They have no say. Nothing. Zero say. No, man, this is Nick's team. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. Here's why Howie it's important for him. You know why? It was on front and center when he rigged the game against Doug at the end of the season. He sat all the starters. Some guys probably had playing incentives, maybe numbers incentives that they could have pushed over or they could have got a number. You know what Howie has in front of him? Amount of percentage of plays, who's performing and who's not, who's active, who is coming close on $1 million bonus, who's not. That's why it's important for the analytics and the owner to go, what's Howie going to do here? If a guy's having a bad season, make him inactive. That's what he'll do. Or giving him limited touches in a ball game and not make him part of the game plan. Controlling the money controls the roster. These are his picks. That's why he's got to validate Nakobe Dean playing. Or he's got to validate Jordan Davis playing over Milton Williams. Why? 13th pick in the draft, dude. Sign the bonus money. I got to go to the owner and explain to him, hey, man, if you pay him, you're going to play him. Okay? See, this is all the reality of what a GM also does. He'll look at the sheet, what players are coming up on bonuses. And they'll sit him. Shit, he sat Jalen Hurts. He sat Hurts. We just spent $500 million. Now we're pinching pennies. Well, let's take a look at that. Your entire linebacking core is pinching pennies. Let's see. You got a 5th rounder, 3rd rounder, a bust of a 1st rounder. You got another Nolan Smith guy who soon to be, and you had to go in free agency and sign a guy that's a project. And then where is the equity and the money that you spent in linebacker? Shit, you could have signed TJ Edwards and made more sense. Let's take a look at your secondary. Okay? Not one corner's worth of shit right now because they're not giving you the value on the return of investment. Now, if Slay and Bradbury were making $4 million or $2 million, it's one thing. But when you're making double digits and you're giving them 3 picks apiece combined, or 3 picks combined, That's not value. That's what the GM does also. Oh, this was awesome yesterday. I'm driving in the car and I'm just listening to your own coaches be called out by players. It was fabulous. It's about time. It is about time. Shit, Javon Hardgrave even said, they don't practice hard in Philly. That's Howie. What coach in his right mind wouldn't be a slave dog to his players and pushing and getting the most out of them? But a great coach. You think great coaches take days off? Call camps, break camp early. That's how he not wanting to get his precious guys hurt. Yeah. Oh, yes, Dominique. I was a slave dog too. 3 days with my coach. Ray Perkins put us all through it. Absolutely. You bet, man. You want to get your ass kicked? Have one of them old school coaches. Put you through 3 days. That'll be the only position we don't spend on. Try harder. Okay. Safety. You're not spending any money in your D tackles. You spend equity. Draft picks. You ain't spending any money yet. Those guys ain't making big money. LJ's trying to make it sound like they're spending huge money on DTs. Rookie deals. Wait till those deals come to fruition and they got to start paying them. Gardner Johnson's on a 1-year deal. He'll be gone. And you know why? They drafted Cooper DeJean to take his place. He'll be out. I guarantee you this. If that team starts going through bumpy rides, Gardner Johnson will be he'll be put on IR by the end of the year because they don't want to pay him. Because he's got incentives lined up in there. Guarantee you. I think they did give him a 3-year. Guarantee. Yeah, but you know what they'll do? They'll cut him. They'll cut him. You don't draft players. You don't draft players in last year's draft and in this year's draft to keep a guy that makes $8 million. They don't spend money on that side of the ball. He's in for 3 years. How many people on this team believe that Gardner Johnson will be on this football team in 3 years? Xander, do you believe that? Do you believe that he'll be on a 3-year deal? You think he'll be here in 3 years? Just had Fletch at 10. No, Fletch wasn't making $10 million last year. That's not true. It's a lie. He went from 14 and he took pay cuts the last 3 years. Lie. Total lie. By the way, I am not answering for players that have come out and publicly called your guys meddling and not connected with the players. You can continually do this, but we're going to reel it back in. Listen, this is not a show that allows you to contradict what your own players are saying. And if you want to go down that route, fine. Welcome you aboard. I'll read your dumbass comments, but it doesn't mean shit to me. Because when your own players are calling you out and you use me as a vehicle to get mad at, I'm not sure what else to say to you, son, except that your fan base, a portion of it, is delusional. It's delusional. Delusional. Again, it was great to finally hear another player jump in the wagon and call everyone out. It's great. It's great. You know what the players are doing? The players are trying to tell you what happened last year, and the Eagles won't let them. Xander, don't you get that feeling? The players are trying to tell you what happened. And if you open your mouth too much, you're on the Reddick train or Reddick bus. Right? Will Gainwell be on this team in September? No way. No way. No way. No way. Oh, guess what I'm hearing? Oh, wait. Guess what I'm hearing? Friends of Drew Rosenhaus and people are saying, Slay's agent, that Darius Slay and James Bradbury weren't talking to Matt Patricia by the end of the year. Wonder why that is. Big Sills says, F you, you're going to eat it. So sit down and shut the hell up and take it. By the way, hit the like button. Daniel, thank you very much for the super chat. You're awesome. Hey, how about this one, Daniel? People around Rosenhaus's camp are saying that Slay and Bradbury weren't talking to Patricia at the end of the year. Really? Huh. Why is that, I wonder? See, here's the difference with us here. I'll tell you who talks to me. I don't give you these anonymous assholes that lie and just make shit up. I give you a name. And that's why the Eagles call my bosses. Because they know I know these people. So how many people believe that? Oh, by the way, Mark Holmes and Philly 500 are going to join us at the bottom of this hour. So I'm going to take a time out here in a second. Okay. Last year was a dumpster fire, though. Whole organization. We all knew that. So was your 4-win season, too. Right? That one, too. If 22 doesn't matter, why does 23? I didn't say 22 didn't matter. Actually, 22 is the benchmark for the organization when it comes to Hurts's error. Hurts's error is all based on 22. Has a lot to do with it. You'll never get back to it because you don't want to. You're going in opposite directions. Oh, 22 has a lot to do with the Hurts era. He'll be gauged on that 22 for the rest of his career in Philadelphia. You kidding me? That's his benchmark. Anything short of 22, it's a failure of the $250 million contract. Correct? I think we've all made that established, right? Anything short of 2022? Should I think even Xander said it? Anything short of 2022, it's a disaster contract, right? Now the question will be, who is he? 23 or 22? Because if he's somewhere in the middle, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. I can't wait till this guy is out of Philly media. I'm very sure you're right. Are you crazy? Our players don't like you at all. Then why do they respond to me? Anthony, answer this. Why would the most unassuming Philadelphia Eagles star like Devontae Smith respond to me, let alone nobody? Why? There's a billion people he could respond to in America. Why me? Why me? Why does Slay respond to me? Why does A.J. Brown? Why me? Can he answer? By the way, I think that thing's got over 530 1,000 likes now. Thank you very much. LJ says, because I lie for clicks. I said, no, that was a complete opinion. That when Devontae got his contract, she would cry out loud, and AJ Owens cried, got his money. That's what happened. Was my prediction wrong? Shit, James even put a clip up of that. You can go back and look at it. It's about 2 months old. It's curious. So let me get this right. This little old show on JAKIB, who no one watches, the public relations director calls Joe Krause and Xander Krause weekly. The players respond to it weekly. Phew. I don't get it. I really don't. My wife doesn't get it. I don't get it either. Oh, I know why. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. I got it. Because I tell the truth. I've learned one thing about when, you know what, John McMullen calls, or maybe it's not John because Xander said he never said this. Somebody called a shock jock. Is telling the truth shocking to people? Niner goes like this: Sills against the world, baby. Unfortunately, my family hates that. I want you to know this, Niner. My family hates that. And to some extent, so does Xander. You know why? Because everyone's got to play a game. I don't even know if it's that I'm unwilling to. I don't know. I don't believe it's ego. I just think it's about talking and seeing what you see and saying what you feel. Forte, this stuff is hard to argue. It's nebulous and disjointed with too much hearsay. There's the hearsay from your own players you're calling hearsay? How can it be hearsay when it comes out of a guy's mouth that's in the locker room and part of the 53-man roster, Forte? How is that? How is that? Look at Forte. He says, I don't understand how you are denying what they're saying. Okay? Dave goes 100% correct on Howie. As long as the Eagles' ticket waiting list is 50 strong, nothing will change. Correct. Because it's about control, not championships. Hence 1 and 3. That's here. You guys are the LeBron James of the NFL. You're not going to be told how to win. That's why he's 4 and 6. Still great, but not Russell and Jordan great. You know, there lies the difference. Still fabulous, but not quite Jordan, Brady, or Mahomes. You're Phil Mickelson. So stop being emotional. We like to hate you. It's our way of showing love. Buck, Mark Holmes. Hey, Prince, all good, dude. Hey, Prince. Dude, some people in here are taking it that I'm taking shots at you. Because you know why? That team embodies and is a civic pride part of Philly. So when they hear some things being said about it, first emotion is to be reactive and combative. I totally understand that. That's why I stand over here, and everyone, I stand out in a crowd, not stand with the crowd. Dan, do you think if we keep Doug Peterson, do you think we would have gave Jalen his contract? No. No. Doug would have fought that. Let's see him do it again. He's fighting it right now with Trevor Lawrence. Hey, listen. Listen here. I'm going to take a time out here because I'm going to get everything all lined up here. Okay? Mark Holmes from the Dallas Cowboy fan base. Philly 500 over here. Big Sills in the middle. Mark says he's going to be salty with you guys today. Okay? Philly, don't get beat up by Kenny Gainwell again. Okay? Just don't. Hit the like button. We're trying to get to 250 likes. Please. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.